All right, three, two, one. Hello, YouTube. Otaku here. We're gonna get back into it with the Moon is Down by John Steinbeck. If you haven't been onto this channel before, please go and check out the channel description. If you have been onto this channel before, well, let's get right back into it. All right, go ahead and grab your eucalyptus inhalation equipment. I already have mine set up right here. If there's anything else that you're gonna be able to grab or need, I got myself a little bit of juice going on, and that's gonna be my drink. Hydration checks are gonna be throughout this session, but without further ado, let's get in. Let's get into it. I just got through working on track 17 to my second album, Candy Island, and the song is called Vanilla Extraction. Class, very classy song. I'd say for the majority of the actual album is like storytelling, kind of leading you down a trail. You're not sure exactly where it's going to go until like track 10. We actually do make it to Roasted Marshmallow Mountains, and then it's kind of self-explanatory literally within that song of what we're doing here. But I just like froze up there. Honestly, it happens sometimes. That would be the part where you would cut away and it would just start right back over as if I never did that, and you would have never known I did that. But we're unedited around here until further ado. But I just keep doing it too. It's like I'm just gonna have to roll with the punches. How it goes. You would think after like 70 plus videos of being in front of a camera, I'd be at least a little less awkward. But and that beat, that beat button though, definitely a shortstopper. Alright, I'm being silly too much. Let's get into it. The 2 minutes is over. I'm ready to continue reading. I know why you're here, because you want to hear me read. Alright. We ended off on top of page 19. Oh, yeah, that's where the family's like getting put into this whole, well, community because the doctor's there and then the maid, but they might as well be a family from the way the mayor's talking about them. It's very endearing to hear how much he like allows or understands their freedom as individuals while also being the head authority to speak on their behalf. And if he was my mayor and he was going through this situation, don't change a thing. Just talk how you are and keep it going. The fan that's going around right now is unable to let me do ghost. Hope y'all like that background music. It's ambient. And Lancer said, I could have shot her. I could have locked her up. And we would have no cook. Oh, it's a little deeper for Odin. Or Dean, but it'd be funny to call him Odin. And we would have no cook. Yeah, because it's like a thick under accent. Look, said the colonel. We are instructed to get along with your people. Madame said, Excuse me, sir. I will just go and see if that soldier hurt Annie. And she went on. Now Lancer stood up. I told you I'm very tired, sir. I must have some sleep. Please cooperate with us for the good of all. When Mr. Ordine made no reply, for the good of all, Lancer repeated slowly. Will you? Question mark. Ordine said, This is our little town. I don't know. The people are confused, and so am I. Like, this guy is just not wanting to work with the mayor at all. But this guy's looking like this mayor doesn't want to work with me. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're the invading party. If you're holding any kind of weight towards the other individual, they're going to use all that weight to reject your influence. At least that's how I'm like seeing it. Being forced upon like this is just, he's not going to, unless you're going to shoot him and take over the town, he's not really going to give you the reply you're asking for because of the way you're doing it. Ordine said, This is our little town. I don't know. The people are confused, and so am I. But you will try to cooperate? Question mark. Ordine shook his head. I don't know. When the town makes up its mind, what do you want to do? I'll probably do that. But you are the authority. Ordine smiled. You won't believe it, but it is true. Authorities, it's in this town. I don't know how or why, but it is so. This means we cannot act as quickly as we can. But when a direction is set, we all act together. I am confused. I don't know yet. Lancer said wearily. I hope we could get along. No, he doesn't. Or at least I'm speculating he doesn't. But let's continue. It would be so much easier for everyone. I hope we can trust you. I don't like to think of the means the military would take to keep order. Mayor Ordine was silent. I hope we can trust you, Lancer repeated. Ordine put his finger in his ear and wiggled his hand. No, he said. Madame came through the door then. Annie's furious, she said. She's next door talking to Christine. Christine's angry too. Well, I shouldn't make Ma sound so frantic. I shouldn't make Madame sound so frantic. She's next door, talking to Christine. Christine's angry. Just as angry. Christine is even a better cook than Annie, said the mayor. Really? That's just where it ends? Really? Chapter 2. Just hopefully picking up right where we left off. Page 20 of The Moon is Down by John Steinbeck. A communist anti-propaganda. Upstairs in the little place of the mayor, the staff of Colonel Lancer made its headquarters. There were 5 of them beside the colonel. There was Major Hunter, a haunted little man of figures. A little man who, being a dependable unit, considered all other men either as dependable units or as unfit to live. Jeez. Major Hunter. He's my friend in real life. For Major Hunter, set his men in rows like figures, and he added and subtracted and multiplied them. He was an arithmetician rather than a mathematician. Yeah? Shoot, I'm going to have to look up that word, arithmetician. Yeah, it's like American, but arithmetician. Rather than a mathematician. None of the humor, the music, or the mysticalism of higher mathematics ever entered his head. Men might vary in height or weight or color, just as 6 is different from 8, but then there was little other difference. He had been married several times, and he did not know why his wives became very nervous before they left him. Oh, jeez. That just sounds like a terrible partner, in my opinion. You don't know why your wives were nervous to leave you before they left? Like, it's like, shoot. It's a lot more complicated than that, man. You're gonna have to do a lot better than simply just sit there and wonder. You're gonna actually have to go through the means of figuring this out, and even more of a means to actually solving it. But let's smoke. Pack another bowl before a few more pages. Yeah. Captain Hunter. Oh, Major Hunter, my bad. Yeah. Because Captain Benstick was a family man, a lover of dogs, pink children, and Christmas. And oh, this nigga sounds like a doll. Motherfucking, I mixed up Captain Benstick with Major Hunter. That was that first part. Apologies. He was too old to be a captain, but a curious lack of ambition had kept him in that rank. A curious lack. That's such a good way to phrase that. Curious lack of ambition had kept him in that rank. Before the war, had admired the British country gentleman very much. Wore English clothes, kept English dogs, smoked in an English pipe, a special pipe mixture sent him from London, and subscribed to those country magazines, which extol gardening and continuously argue about the relative merit of English and Gordon setters. Yeah, just setters. I'd like for it to be called settlers. I was wanting for that to be. Captain Benstick spent all of his holidays in Sussex. Yeah, Sussex. Very Sussex. And liked to be mistaken for an Englishman in Budapest or Paris. The war changed all that outwardly, but he had sucked on a pipe too long, had carried a stick too long, had gave them up too suddenly. Once, 5 years before, he had written a letter to the Times about grass dying in the Midlands and had signed it Edmund Twitchell, Esquire. And furthermore, the Times had printed it. If Captain Benstick was too old to be a captain, Captain Loft was too young. Captain Loft was much a captain as one can imagine. He lived and breathed his captaincy. He had no military moment. Wow. So, is he an upstanding individual? Are any of these people upstanding individuals when they're coming and invading in on this peaceful town? A driving ambition forced him up through the grades. He rose like cream to the top of milk. He clicked his heels as perfectly as a dancer does. He knew every kind of military courtesy and insisted on using it all. Generals were afraid of him because he knew more about the deportments of a soldier than they did. Captain Loft thought and believed that as a soldier is the highest development in animal life. If he considered God at all, he thought of him as an old and honored general, retired and gray, living among remembered battles and putting raids on the graves of his lieutenants several times a year. What a way to look at God. That is just so interesting. And I know that's like such a beaten down word in this day and age. Like, interesting is, and I'm sure other words can come to mind, but yeah, it's thought provoking because I never imagined that somebody would look to God as like a general that's retired and old and is just simply like paying homage to his comrades. Like, I guess somebody had to. It's my first time reading it like this. Very, very interesting. Captain Locke believed that all women fell in love with the uniform, and he did not see how it could be otherwise. In the normal course of events, he would be a brigadier, bleh. You can hear what I'm saying, brigadier, yeah, general at 45 and have his picture in the illustrated papers, flanked by tall, pale, muscular women wearing lacy picture hats. Lieutenant Prackle, really want to call him Prickle, and Tonder, really want to call him Tender, were snod-noses undergraduates, lieutenants trained in the politics of the day, believing the great new system invented by a genius so great that it was never bothered to verify its results. They were sentimental young men, given to tears and to furies. Lieutenant Prackle carried a lock of hair in the back of his watch, wrapped in a bit of blue satin, and the hair was constantly getting loose and clogging the balance wheel, so that he wore a wristwatch for telling time. Prackle was a dancing partner, a gay young man who nevertheless could scour like the leader, could brawn like the leader. He hated degenerate arts, and he destroyed several canvases with his own hands. In cabinets, I'm just going to call them cabinets, he sometimes made pencil sketches of his. Page 22, The Moon is Down by John Steinbeck. Companions were so good that he often been told he should have been an artist. So he's, pretty good with the stick. I see you. And he sounds like he has a lot of standards. Prackle had several blood sisters, of whom he was so proud that he had an occasional caused a commotion when he thought that they had been insulted. Okay. The sisters were a little disturbed about it because they were afraid someone might set out to prove the insults, which would not have been hard to do. Lieutenant Prackle spent nearly all his time off-duty daydreaming of seducing Lieutenant Tonder's blonde sister. Damn, this dude's like interesting. A buxom girl who loved to be seduced by older men who did not mousse her hair as Lieutenant Prackle did. Okay. Lieutenant Tonder was a poet, a bitter poet who dreamed of perfect, ideal love of elevated young men for poor girls. Tonder was a dark romantic with a vision as wide as his experience. He sometimes spoke blank verse under his breath to imaginary dark women. He longed for death on the battlefield and weeping parents in the background, and the leader, brave but sad in the presence of the dying youth. He imagined his death very often, lighted by a fair setting sun which gleamed on broken military equipment, his men standing silently around him, his head sunk low, as over a fat cloud galloped the Valkyries, big-breasted mothers and mistresses in one, while Wagnesian thunder crashed into the background, and he even had his dying words ready. I'm like at the third paragraph of page 22. I'm gonna smoke really quick, and wow, they really did just like lore dump us on these fucking generals and majors and captains and whoever the fuck else wants to be important. But yeah, it was pretty cool, you know. There was a few perspectives in there that I definitely had not considered. Spending my days considering other people's perspective when I'd rather just have somebody explain to me in a book in some way, even if it's bad, even if it's good. To have like an attempt is quite satisfying. The only reason I'm failing on these words so much is because, like, in my head all day long, like when I am talking to myself, it's like this, you know. When I'm saying like interesting, satisfying, it's like I say that to myself in my head like numerous times before I have the like attempt to speak it out loud for any purpose. But this is a good purpose, so I don't mind. It is like something to get used to because I just when I talk to y'all, when I talk to myself, you know, there's a bit of it's not disappointment. It's not. It's dampening on my. You ever just like rambled on about something so like the words actually feel degraded at a certain point, like almost as if somebody could sit there and like kind of make fun of you for repeating yourself so much, like interesting, like that's why it was like difficult for me to like get out those words because you guys don't know that I say those things to myself quite often, but because I said it out loud in front of the camera like this, like that feeling just came over on me, and yeah, it's the first thought that came to my mind after that was that it's quite silly. And you know, I've heard like a British woman tell me that before. Of don't be nervous. Don't. I'm here to entertain y'all. Y'all can get up and go at any time. But for right now, let's smoke together. Because that's what the Smoke and Read Along is all about. Reading something, smoke it along, and gain the perspective of another individual. Together in different ways. That's really tastes like the best parts of a jungle, like the berries and fruits and exoticness of like compliments to the chef. Alright, let's continue. They were the men of the staff, each one playing war as children's play. Run, sheep, run. Well, now I gotta make up accents for these. Major Hunter, what is he gonna sound like? Run, sheep, run! Major Hunter thought of war as a arithmetical job to be done so he could get back to his fireplace. Captain Loft has his proper career of a proper brought-up young man, and Lieutenant Prackle and Tonder as a dreamlike thing in which nothing was very real, and their wars so far have been played. Fine weapons and fine planning against unarmed, perilous enemies. They had lost no fights and suffered little hurts. They were under pressure, capable of cowardice, of courage, and as everyone is. Of them all, only Colonel Lancer knew what war really is in the long run. Lancer had been in Belgium and France 20 years before, and he tried not to think what he knew. The war was treachery and hatred, the mumbling of incompetent generals, the torture and killing and sickness and tiredness, until at last it is over and nothing had changed except for new wariness and new hatreds. Lancer told himself he was a soldier, given orders to carry out. He was not expected to question or to give, or to think, but only to carry out orders, and he tried to put aside the sick memories of other war and the certainty that this would be the same. This one will be different, he said to himself 50 times a day. This one will be different. In marching, in mobs, in football games, and in war, outlines became vague. Real things became unreal, and a fog creeps over the mind. Tension and excitement, weariness, movement, all merge in one great gray dream. So that when it is over, it is hard to remember how it was when you killed men or ordered them to be killed. Then other people who were not there tell you what it was like, and you say vaguely, yes, I guess that's how it was. Damn, this man has a free. You got a line for everything, don't you, Colonel? That's hard. This man is well trained at what he was ordered to do. It's like, shoot, not everybody is asked to kill somebody from another country. That's not a normal thing. Even though so many people go through it, I wouldn't believe that that is something normally should or is to happen. It's with a heavy heart to know that that is what we must go through. Peace and harmony isn't a place. It's a moment. It's like love or hatred or fear. All these things are like moments in time that go beyond like their duration of existence. That they're to be perceived and improved upon, not forgotten. Let's continue. This staff had taken 3 rooms on the upper floor of the mayor's palace. In the bedrooms, they had put their cloths and blankets and equipment in the room next to them, and directly over the little drawing room in the ground floor, they had made a kind of club, rather an uncomfortable club. There were a few chairs and a table. Here they wrote letters and read letters. They talked and ordered coffee and planned and rested. On the walls between the windows, there were pictures of cows and lakes and little farmhouses. And from the windows, they could look down over the town and the waterfront to the docks where the shipping wax tied up, to the docks where the coal barges pulled up and took their loads and went out to sea. They could look down over the little town that twisted past the square to the waterfront and could see the fishing boats lying in anchor in the bay. The sails flared, and they could smell the drying fish on the beach right through the window. There was a large table on the center of the room, and Mayor Hunter sat beside it. He had his drawings board in his lap, and resting in the table, and with the T-square and triangle, he worked at a design for a new railroad siding. The drawing board was unsteady, and the major was growing angry with its unsteadiness. He called over his shoulder, "Prackle!" and then, "Lieutenant Prackle!" The bedroom door opened and the lieutenant came out, half his face covered with shaving cream. He held the brush in his hand. "Yes?" he said. Major Hunter jiggled his drawing board. "Hasn't that transport for my board turned up in the baggage? Question mark. "I don't know, sir," said Prackle. "How did it look?" "Well, look now, will you? Question mark. It's bad enough to have to work in this light. I'll have to draw this again before I ink it." Prackle said, "Just as soon as I'm finished shaving, I'll look." Hunter said airably, "The siding is more important than your looks. See if there's a canvas case like a golf bag under that pile in there." Prackle disappeared in the bedroom. The door to the right opened and Captain Loft came in. He wore his helmet, a pair of field glasses, sidearms, and various little leather cases stirred all over him. He began to remove his equipment, and soon he entered. "You know that band stick, right?" he said. "He was going out on duty in a fatigue cap, right down the street." Loft put his field glasses on the table and took off his helmet. In his gas mask bag, a little pile of equipment began to heap up on the table. Hunter said, "I'll leave that stuff here. I have to work here. Why shouldn't he wear a cap? There hasn't been any trouble. I'll get sick of this 10 things. It's 10 things. They're heavy. You can't see." Lob said primely, "It's bad practice." "It's bad practice to leave it off. It's bad for the people here. We must maintain a military standard at alertness and never vary it. We'll just invite trouble if we don't." "What makes you think so? Question mark, Hunter asked. The Loft drew himself up a bit, his mouth thinned with certainty. Sooner or later, everybody wants to punch Loft in the nose for his sureness about things. He said, "I don't think it. I was paraphrasing Manual X-12 on deportment in occupied countries. It is very, very carefully worked out." He began to say, "You," and then he changed it to, "Everyone should read X-12 very closely." Fucking, who is this, Loft? Yeah, fuck you, Loft. Hunter said, "Well, I wonder whether the man who wrote it was ever in an occupied country. These people are harmless enough. They seem to be good, obedient people." "That's crazy in and of itself too, Hunter. The fuck?" Prackle came through the door. Prackle. I really want to call him Pickle so bad. His face still half covered with shaving soap. He carried a brown canvas tube, and behind him came Lieutenant Tonder. "Is that it?" Prackle asked. "Oh, is that it?" Prackle asked. "Yeah." Prackle's deep, Hunter's southern. Loft is my voice, honestly. Even though he's a fucking prick. "Yes." Let's see. Loft's the one that asked him. Yeah. "Yes, unpack it, will you? And set it up." Prackle and Tonder went to work on the folding Tide Pod and tested it to put it near Hunter. The major screwed his board on it, tilted it right and left, finally settled grunningly behind it. Captain Loft said, "Do you know you have soap in your face, Lieutenant?" "Yes, sir," Prackle said. "I was shaving when the major asked me to get the tripod." "Well, you'd better get it off," Loft said. "The colonel might see you." "Yeah, fuck the colonel." "Oh, I don't mind. He wouldn't mind. He doesn't care about things like that." Tawny was looking over Hunter's shoulder as he worked. Loft said, "Well, he may not. That doesn't look right." Crackle took a handkerchief and rubbed the soap from his cheek. Thunder pointed to a little drawings on the corner of the major's board. "It's a nice looking bridge, Major. Where in the world are we going to build a bridge?" Hunter looked down at the drawing and then over his shoulder at Thunder. "Huh? Oh, that ain't any bridge we're going to build. Up here's the work drawn." "What are we doing with a bridge there? Question mark." Hunter seemed a little embarrassed. "Well, you know, in my backyard at home, I got a mile railroad line. I was going to build a bridge, a little creek for it. Brought the line right down to the creek, but I never did get the bridge built. Thought I kind of worked it out while I was away." Lieutenant Prackle took from his pocket a folded rotogravure page, and he unfolded it and held it up and looked at it. It was a picture of a girl, all legs and dress and eyelashes, a well-developed blonde in black open-work stockings and low boutiques, and his particular blonde peeped over a black-laced face. Lieutenant Prackle held her up and he said, "Isn't she something?" Lieutenant Tonder looked critically at the picture and said, "I don't see her." Like, since they call Lieutenant Tonder gay, I'm just gonna give him like a very flamboyant, "I don't like her." "What don't you like about her? Question mark." "I just don't like her," said Tonder. "What do you want her picture for? Question mark." Imagine if Tonder was just like talking like that, was just like, "What do you want her picture for? Question mark." It just like went deep. Prackle said, "Because I do like her, and I bet you do too." He pointed at her. "I do not," said Tonder. "You mean you say you want to take a date with her, if you could?" Prackle asked. Man, he is just desperate. He's like, "Please say it ain't so. Say it with I ain't with the..." Tonder said, "No." "Oh, you're just crazy," said Prackle. Went to one of the curtains. He said, "You're gonna stick her up here and let you brawl about her for a while." He pinned the picture to the curtain. Captain Lop was gathering his equipment in his arms now, and he said, "I don't think it looks very well out here. Lieutenant, you better take it down. I want to make a good impression on the local people." Hunter looked up from his board. "What would it?" He sounds like a military soldier that just like has their head covered from the eyes up with the helmet. "What would it? Question mark." He followed their eyes to the picture. "Who's that? Question mark," he asked. "She's an actress," said Prackle. Hunter looked at her carefully. Twang. "Oh, don't you know her? Question mark." Tonder said, "She's a tramp." Hunter said, "Oh." Twang. "Oh, then you don't know her? Question mark." Prackle was looking steadily at Tonder. He said, "Say, how do you know she's a tramp? Question mark. She looks like a tramp, said Tonder. Do you know her? Question mark. No, and I don't want to know her. Prackle began to say, and how do you know? Question mark. When Loft broke in, he said, you better take the picture down. Put it up over your bed if you want to. This room's kind of official here. Prackle looked at him mutishously. He was about to speak when Captain Loft said, that's an order, Lieutenant. And poor Prackle folded his paper and put it into his pocket again. He tried cheerfully to change the subject. There are some pretty good girls here in town, all right, he said. As soon as we get settled down and everything goes smoothly, I'm gonna go get acquainted with a few of them. Loft said, you better read X12. There's a section dealing with sexual matters. And he went out, carrying his duffel glasses and equipment. Lieutenant Tonder, still looking over Hunter's shoulder, said, that's clever. The coal cars come right through the mines to the ship. Hunter came slowly out of his work and said, so that's why we better have to speed it up. We're going to have to go into the coal movement. It's a big job. I'm awfully thankful that the people here are calm and sensible. Loft came back to the room without his equipment. He stood by the window, looking out towards the harbor, towards the coal mine, and he said, they are calm and sensible because we are calm and sensible. I think we could take credit for that. That's why I keep harping on procedures. It is very carefully worked out. The door opened and the Colonel Lancer came in, removing his coat as he entered. His staff gave a military courtesy, not very rigid, but enough. Lancer said, Captain Loft, will you go down and relieve Benstick? He isn't feeling well. Says he's dizzy. Yes, sir, said Loft. May I suggest, sir, that I only recently came off duty? Lancer inspected him closely. I hope you don't mind going, Captain. Not at all, sir. I just mentioned it for the record. Lancer relaxed and chuckled. You like to be mentioned in the reports, don't you? Question mark. Does no harm, sir. And when you have enough mentions, Lancer went on, there will be a little dangler on your chest. They are the milestones in a military career, sir. Lancer signed. Yes, I guess they are. But they won't be the ones you'll remember, Captain. Sir? Question mark. Loft asked. You'll know what I mean later. Perhaps. Captain Loft put on his equipment rapidly. Yes, sir, he said, and he went out and his footsteps chattered down the wooden stairs, and Lancer watched him go with a little amusement. He said quietly, there goes a born soldier. And Hunter looked up and posed his pencil and said, a born ass? No, said Lancer. He's being a soldier the way a lot of men would be politicians. He'll be on the general staff before long. He'll look down on war from above, and he'll always love it. Lieutenant Prackle said, when do you think the war will be over, sir? Question mark. Over. Question mark. Over. Question mark. What do you mean, over? Question mark. Lieutenant Prackle continued. How soon will we win? Question mark. Lancer shook his head. Oh, I don't know. The enemy is still in the world. These guys are evil. But will we lick them? Said Prackle. Lancer said, yes. Question mark. Yeah, it happens sometimes. I saw something flying, I had to smack it. I apologize. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. Alright, let's continue. Won't we? Yes, we always do. Prackle said excitingly. Well, if it's quiet around Christmas, do you think there'll be some foliages granted? I don't know, said Lancer. Such orders will have to come from home. Do you want to get home for Christmas? Question mark. Well, I kind of like to. Maybe will. Motherfucker. Apologies. Maybe you will, said Lancer. Maybe you will. Oh, that's ominous. That guy is such a freaking dick for that. I'm gonna have to start switching over to the one hair at this point because I am burning through quality smokage, but I can't lie, I'm having such a great time. These guys are no joke. These are some bona fide humans. I've seen some, read some, heard about them. My bad. Right here, yeah. Lieutenant Tonder said, well, why drop out of this occupation? Will we, sir, after the war is over? Question mark. I don't know, said the colonel. Why do you ask? Well, said Tonder, it's a nice country, nice people. Our men, some of them, might even settle here. Lancer said jokingly, you've seen some places you like, perhaps. Well, said Tonder, there are some beautiful farms here. Yikes. 10 more minutes, and then I'll go ahead and give a proper outro. Just did that. Lancer said jokingly, seen some places you like, perhaps. Well, there are some beautiful farms here, said Tonder. If 4 or 5 of them were thrown together, it'd be a nice place to settle, I think. Tonder said, scratching his ear. Have no family land then? Question mark. Lancer asked. No, sir. Not anymore. Inflation took it away. Lancer was tired now talking to children. He said, well, still have a war to fight. We still have coal to dig. Do you suppose we can wait until it is over before we buy up these interstates? Such orders will come from above. Captain Love can tell you that. His manner changed. He said, Hunter, your steel will be in tomorrow. You get your tracks started this week. There was a knock at the door, and a sentry put his hand in. He said, Mr. Corell wishes to see you, sir. Send him in, said the colonel tiringly. And he said to the others, This is the man who did the preliminary work here. We might have some trouble with him. Did he do a good job? Said Tonder. Yes, he did. And he wouldn't be popular with the people here. I wonder whether he would be popular with us. He deserves credit, certainly, Tonder said. Yes, Lancer said. And don't think he will claim it. Corell came in, rubbing his hands. He radiated goodwill and good fellowship. He was dressed still in his black business suit. On his head there was a patch of white bandage stuck to his hair with a cross of adhesive tape. He advanced to the center of the room and said, Good morning, Colonel. I should have called yesterday that the trouble downstairs, but I knew how busy you were. The Colonel said, See, before I gave this guy like a Nazi German accent, but he's like such a weasel, such a snake that I'm just gonna give him like what he is, you know. If he's good at like being a spy, we're gonna make him stand like a very standoutish guy. So here we go. The Colonel said, Morning. Then with a circular gesture of his hand, This is my staff, Mr. Corell. This is my staff. Fine boys, said Corell. They did a good job. Well, I try to prepare for them well. Hunter looked down at the board, and he took out an inkling pen and dipped it and began to ink in his drawing. Lancer said, You did very well. I wish you hadn't killed those 6 men, though. I wish those soldiers hadn't come back. Corell spread his hands and said comfortably, 6 men. 6 men. It is a small loss for a town at this rate. With the coal mine, too? Lancer said sternly. I am not adverse to killing people if that finishes it. But sometimes it is better not to. Corell had been studying the Okay, that's how we got it. Okay, let's see. Yeah, he's such a fucking asshole for killing those people. So it wasn't even the soldiers that came in to kill those men. It was the freaking this Corell dude that was living here for years. Hold on, let me just make sure. Lancer said, "You did very well. I wish you hadn't killed those 6 men, though." So it wasn't even the fucking soldiers that came in here that killed the 6 men. It was that dude that betrayed he wanted bloodshed all along. That's fucking despicable. These soldiers ain't even like that. I wish their soldiers hadn't come back. Corell spread his hands and said comfortably, 6 men is such a small loss for a town this size. With a coal mine too? Lancer said sternly, I am not adverse to killing people with that finish in it, but sometimes it is better not to. Corell had been studying the officers. He looked sideways at the lieutenants and he said, Could we perhaps talk alone, Colonel? Yes, if you wish. Lieutenant Prackle and Lieutenant Tonder, will you go into your rooms, please? Question mark. And the colonel said to Corell, Major Hunter is working. He doesn't hear anything when he's working. Hunter looked up from his board and smiled quietly and looked down again. The young lieutenant left the room. When they were gone, Lancer said, Well, we are here. Won't you sit down? Thank you, sir. And Corell sat behind the table. Lancer looked at the bandage on Corell's head. He said bluntly, Have we tried to kill you already? Corell felt the bandage with his fingers. This? Oh, this was a stone that fell from a cliff on the hill this morning. Sure it wasn't thrown. What do you mean? Corell said. These aren't fierce people. They hadn't a war for 100 years. They've forgotten about fighting. Well, you lived among them, said the colonel. You'd ought to know. He stepped close to Corell. But if you are safe, these people are different from any in the world. I've helped to occupy countries before. I was in Belgium 20 years ago in France. He shook his head a little as though to clear it, and he said griffinly, You did a good job. We should thank you. I'll mention your work in my report. He is pissed right now. Thank you, sir, said Crow. I did my best. Page 32, we're basically reaching the hour mark. I am going to cut right here. So, yeah. Page 32, a lot's gone on during that book session, and I'm just glad that we're finally seeing a little bit of humanity out of this, because when this first started out, it seemed like completely one-sided, like, yeah, these people are just going to come and invade, and we're going to hear about the townspeople, and I thought we're going to hear about, like, the mayor and everybody gathering up arms are going to freaking revolt against them in the coal mines. They're going to figure out some plan. No. This is like, despite everything I read, from the illustrations and my thoughts, I now see that there is humanity being depicted towards these unjust invaders. It's like really interesting so far, because the townspeople don't know that those 6 people died by the betrayer of this town. They only know that the people that are coming here day 1 of their entry are here, and now suddenly 6 people are dead. And that's all they're going to chalk it up to, that these people are bad, when it's not even them. They're just coming here for resources. They're like, hey, don't fucking kill us and we won't kill y'all, but we're coming here for shit we need. We don't think it's gonna be enough to sit there and wipe you out for eternity. It's like, it's just coals. Nobody sits there and fucking mines coals unless they really, really need to. And there's a lot of fucking coal out there. I'm not too sure how much because I haven't done a lot of research, but I can sit there and tell you that it's not food, it's not water, and it's not their homes. They're only just occupying the homes till they're done coal mining. They're not exactly trying to. I don't know what's gonna happen, but so far it's not complete takeover. So, with a little bit of faith in humanity, leaders coming here, requesting resources, having arms to protect themselves in case they're ambushed and just decimated or attempted to be. And no, this fucking dude's like twisting it into like some kind of murder spree that's not what they wanted. Even the fucking colonel just said right now, it's like, do what you must if you need to, but it's best not to if you can help it. This could have been helped if that fucking psychopath didn't sit there and kill those 6 men. Oh, you saw that. With that, proper page 32, The Moon is Down by John Steinbeck. Fuck communism. Alright, peace.